A California executive has been sentenced to 25 years behind bars for leading a $1.3 billion fraud scheme. He took over $400 million in retirement savings as part of the same scheme, which he used to fund a lavish lifestyle. Here is a picture of Robert Shapiro in Israel with his wife, Jerry. The Shapiros visited Israel in 2016 to donate money from the Woodbridge Group, the group at the center of this whole fraud scheme. Prosecutors said that Shapiro used investor money for a $6.7 million home and $3.1 million for chartering planes and personal travel. He also agreed to forfeit artworks, including art by Pablo Picasso and Pierre Renoir, along with 603 bottles of wine, numerous pieces of luxury jewelry, and a 1969 Mercury convertible. Shapiro transferred an unspecified amount of money to his wife's company called Schwartz Media. Federal prosecutors say Shapiro's Woodbridge Group had offices in California, Florida, Tennessee, Colorado, and Connecticut. Investors were told Woodbridge held real estate loans, paying them high levels of interest. In fact, the real estate was also owned by Shapiro and sometimes did not exist. Shapiro also used 270 shell companies to help facilitate the real estate scheme. It was a Ponzi scheme, paying older investors with money from newer ones. Now, Robert Shapiro, the former chief executive of Woodbridge Group of Companies, received the maximum sentence of 25 years in prison for running a $1.3 billion fraud that caused more than 7,000 retirees and other investors to lose money. Shapiro, 61 years old, of Sherman Oaks, promised returns as high as 10% from investments and loans to property developers. Instead, he used money from new investors to repay earlier ones and used $36 million to buy luxury homes, wines, paintings, and custom jewelry for his wife. A U.S. district judge sentenced Shapiro on Tuesday, giving him twice the amount of prison time than was suggested by his lawyers, according to court records. 5 states entered cease and desist orders because Woodbridge was selling unregistered securities. Authorities say that the scam operated from at least July 2012 up until December 2017. In 2017, the company filed for bankruptcy and defaulted on its obligations to investors. This article from right after the guilty plea in August, before the sentencing this week, talks more about the plea agreement where Shapiro and his wife agreed to forfeit assets, including these paintings by Picasso. Here is Face with Circles by Picasso, one of the pieces that Shapiro had to return. Also, Picador by Picasso, and Fish Subject. Shapiro also used investor money to buy this Pierre Renoir sketch. And they also had to forfeit this painting by Marc Chagall. The same plea agreement also says that Shapiro and his wife will hand over to the government numerous pieces of jewelry, including a pair of 14-karat white gold earrings with 2 black diamonds, 2 gray diamonds, 2 rose-cut diamonds, and 266 round diamonds, as well as a platinum ring with an emerald and a variety of diamonds. Also on the forfeit list are 603 bottles of wine, this 1969 Mercury convertible, and money in various bank accounts. Court records show that Shapiro spent millions of investor money on personal expenditures, such as $3.1 million for chartering private planes and travel, $6.7 million on his home, $2.6 million on home improvements, $1.8 million on personal income taxes, and over $672,000 on luxury automobiles. Shapiro also used bank accounts and credit cards opened in the name of his wife for family members. The tax evasion charge involves more than $6 million never reported to the Internal Revenue Service from 2000 to 2005. Also charged in the case are Dane Roseman and Ivan Acavito, who are set for a February 2020 trial. They have pleaded not guilty. The U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission has also filed a civil enforcement case against Shapiro and the other defendants. The majority of the prison sentence, 20 years, is for defrauding those investors and for committing wire and mail fraud. The 61-year-old was sentenced to an additional 5 years for failing to pay $6 million in taxes owed between 2000 and 2005. As for the separate civil enforcement case that they were still talking about right after the guilty plea, Shapiro is now also on the hook to pay the Security and Exchange Commission another $120 million. Shapiro will have to pay this as part of a civil settlement with the agency. They add that while the criminal case against Shapiro is over, independent managers are in charge of selling off the rest of Woodbridge's assets to recover money for defrauded investors. Federal law enforcement continues to pursue claims against other Woodbridge executives. Investors have sued for compensation from at least one bank that held Woodbridge accounts. Comerica Bank turned a blind eye to Woodbridge's $1 billion Ponzi scheme, according to a lawsuit. This marks the third lawsuit against the bank in connection with fraud charges by the former luxury residential developer. The suit alleges that Shapiro, quote, could not have carried out this scheme without either using a complex array of accounts at different banks so that no single bank would be able to detect the ongoing fraud, or having a single bank, Comerica, turn a blind eye to what it called his, quote, highly irregular banking activities. Those activities, the suit alleges, included a high volume of transactions and paying existing investors using new investor cash, which moved through Comerica, the suit alleges. Money from the scheme was used to buy various investment properties in Los Angeles, including a number of high-profile residential properties. Comerica should have raised alarm bells, the suit claims. The trustees that have been tasked with recovering Woodbridge investor funds have offloaded some of the properties connected to the scheme, including a development lot in Bel Air and a Hollywood Hills mega mansion. This mansion is among the properties that Woodbridge has offloaded. Hollywood Hills mega mansion, one of the more prominent properties tied to the alleged Woodbridge Group Ponzi scheme, was eventually sold to billionaire Frank Binder for $30 million. Originally listed for $35 million, Binder paid $29.5 million for the 4.5-acre property. The mansion is the latest in the accelerating sell-off of assets owned by Woodbridge Group, the alleged investment front that had a habit of buying prime estates in Los Angeles, which are now being sold as part of liquidation proceedings. This mansion was built in 1990. It includes 2 swimming pools and rooftop lawns. The property was more than 9 acres until earlier this year when Woodbridge sold some of the land for $12 million, shrinking the property to 4.5 acres. So a significant prison sentence for the former Woodbridge Group CEO, Robert Shapiro. There are others that will be sentenced soon as part of the same scandal. Let me know what you think about the whole case so far. I will continue to follow this and any related details. If you could leave a like on this video, that is greatly appreciated. And make sure you are subscribed to the channel. Thanks everybody that has been sharing the videos and sharing the channel to help get the information out there. Also, all supporters on Patreon and PayPal, thank you again. I have both links in the video description to patreon.com/realityreader and paypal.me/realityreader where you can support the channel. I'll follow up soon. Thanks everyone.